stealing my thunder, but this would be the best rookie season ever by a quarterback, period. 6 guys, 6 rookies. Individually, you can put his numbers up against any of the greatest rookie seasons. Cam Newton, right? Some people think he had the best rookie season, but Cam threw 21 touchdowns, 17 picks. It was a little different league back then, but 25 for Jayden this year, touchdowns, 9 picks.
I don't want to put you. Do you have RG3s? Did you pull it?
I didn't look at his numbers, but he obviously had the great rookie year.
Yeah,
maybe they're comparable. Yeah. I'm just saying Jayden's. I'm not saying it's the absolute best, but here's a right there with any of the greatest individual seasons.
Last year.
And then if he gets to the NFC title game by beating the 1 seed in the playoffs, this becomes the best year because all the rookie quarterbacks, is 6 of them, that have gotten to that title game in their conference, none of them had the individual numbers or even close. None of them were like Ben Roethlisberger, obviously Mark Sanchez. They weren't the driving forces of their team. This guy's the driving force.
Go ahead. Yeah, that part right there. And so that's what, when you look at the Commanders and Jayden Daniels being the driving force, if he upsets the Lions this weekend, we're automatically, regardless of what he does, anything further in the postseason, next season starting, he's one of the top quarterbacks in all league. We think the noise was loud about C.J. Stroud after the rookie year he had, losing in the divisional round against the Ravens the way that he did in the season that he had. If Jayden Daniels, who was already in the divisional round, who can lose this game but decides to win this game, and he's not only accurate as a passer, but he's a dual threat. Right. He's a threat you give him a second year, you don't think he'll be better? Naturally, the noise and the volume will be so loud around Jayden Daniels that he will be in the discussion, just like C.J. Stroud. He has an opportunity to win MVP next year.
Oh, yeah, he'd absolutely be.
He was in the mix this year, in the conversation.
He's living the life Caleb was supposed to live this
year.
Yeah. This was the conversation. I saw this whole thing happening. I prophesized this exact thing. Bruce saying this thing about rookie quarterbacks, all of it.
I can't believe it.
If the Bears just hired Cliff Kingsbury to the offensive coordinator instead of Shane Waldron, the whole thing's different. All right. But so, Brew, you said 6 rookie quarterbacks have done it. Yeah. I can't think of the Flacco, Sanchez, Big Ben, Purdy, Sean King. I can't think of the 6.
Dieter Brock.
Okay, all right. That's why I couldn't think of the 6th. All right. So here, I can't speak to Dieter Brock, but I remember those other 5. And what did they all have in common? Purdy, set him aside for a moment.
He only played half the season.
He only played half the season, but Flacco, Sanchez, Big Ben, and Sean King.
Defense.
Those were dominant defenses.
Defense.
And it was like game managed, whatever. The Niners were kind of both. The Niners did have a dominant defense, but they also did have a really good offense. This is nothing like that. This is, this is totally different, where this defense is its weak link.
Yep.
The defense has not been good. And so that's what would make it so remarkable. And in order to, because I remember, I think Flacco his rookie year, or maybe it was second year, won a playoff game with like a 27 passer rating, like 3 picks. It was that Ravens defense.
Yep.
We remember how our colleague Mark Sanchez, those Jets defenses, and Can't Wait, and all of it.
Yep.
The Sean King, if people don't remember, it was the great Tampa Bay Bucks defenses. And so this would be unprecedented, and it really does remind me of the reason I brought up RG3, and Josh told me he had 20 touchdowns, 5 picks, obviously a huge rushing threat, of what I thought RG3 was going to do that year, which is go on a real playoff run. But he got his, his knee blown out in the playoff game against another rookie in Russell Wilson.
Okay. Here's the thing. This is why I was smiling earlier as well, because there's a few things I want to unpack. Also, real fast, I'm going to be live streaming the Houston Texans versus Kansas City Chiefs game. Definitely please check that out. And depending on how that goes, if that's a lot of fun and a lot of people show up, I might just keep on living stream, keep it going into the Washington Commanders versus Lions game. So definitely please check that out. Will be a lot of fun. But okay, now that we got that out of the way. Listen, there's a few things that I really, really, really want to emphasize here. First off, that's why you can't just look at like 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and this and that. You have to look at how this is all happening, how the player is playing. The way he's throwing the ball, the reads that he's making, the runs that he's making, the intensity of each individual game, how he's getting to these numbers. It's what does the film say, and then do the stats confirm it? So you can't just compare box scores. It's what the Washington Commanders have asked Jayden Daniels to do in any given moment, what he's being asked to do and how he's doing it and why he's doing it in any given moment. You know, that's why kind of pointing out the fourth quarters is so important. It's why pointing out like the teams that he's going up against and playing against really matters. You know, I mean, going up against some really, really tough teams this year. But here's the thing why it's so different also for RG3. Guys, that was a different era. That was a different era where quarterbacks like these mobile quarterbacks now were still kind of like you know, almost kind of like a parlor trick. Like it was not what it is today. Okay? We were closer back with RG3, we were closer to like the Michael Vick running quarterbacks than we are to the Josh Allen, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes mobile quarterbacks. This is an era now where we know mobile quarterbacks. We have, like, it's not Tom Brady. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Josh Allen. It's Lamar Jackson. Right? It's the mobility. So everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. Jalen Hurts. Like we know who that quarterback is now. What that quarterback brings. You're not like shocking defenses anymore. So the fact that Jayden Daniels is able to do that in this era, he's taking nobody by surprise. Nobody. After first week one, they know, oh, this is who this quarterback is. And that's why people make comparisons all the time. They're like, oh, he's kind of like Mahomes. He's kind of like Lamar. And we do this with all, lots of quarterbacks. And it's because it helps put things in context. It helps put people in categories and boxes. And then that dictates your actions. It dictates your approaches. With RG3, they were like unable to really do that at the time. It was just a different era. And that's not to say that it was nothing but statue quarterbacks, but it wasn't like this. Quarterback play did not look like this today. This can't even really be argued. I mean, here are the quarterbacks. Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Tony Romo, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Peyton Manning. You know what I mean? Andrew Luck. I mean, obviously he's a beast too, and Aaron Rodgers. But you understand what I'm saying? Eli Manning and Cam Newton obviously had his share of success. And Joe Flacco, Sam Bradford, Andy Dalton. It just was different. It was different. You know, where is the Josh Allen? Where is the Lamar Jackson? Where is the Patrick Mahomes? Where is the Jalen Hurtses? Heck, even Baker Mayfield's more mobile than 99% of these guys. And again, obviously there's a couple quarterbacks here and there, but it's just different. It was so much more of a kind of like, oh my God, what is this? I remember when RG3 took off. I saw one of his first games, and ironically, I was with my dad, and I think my one, friend at the time. And my dad was like, that's a quarterback. He's supposed to be the real deal. My dad only knows so much about football, but, it was like his game really jumped off the screen, obviously, really being dynamic and mobile. And it's because it was still a novelty. It was still, that's probably what I meant to say rather than parlor trick. It was more of a novelty. You couldn't really compare someone like an RG3. That's why it was like, oh, he's mobile like Michael Vick. Like that was kind of like the go-to. How many people compare a quarterback now to Michael Vick? Not really anyone. You're now if anyone quarterback who can run and throw, you're like, he's like Mahomes, he's like Josh Allen, he's kind of got some Lamar in him. So it's just, what Jayden does is it's just more layered for me. And again, it's the way he does it, the type of throws that he's making, the type of decisions that he's asked, the defenses that he's facing. Again, because you could also make the argument, well, he's in a easier offensive era because of the rules and stuff like that, which can definitely be true. I make that argument all the time for why stats are inflated for even Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, etc., over someone like a Tom Brady, because they played in different passing eras where the defenses were harder and it was a more defensive dominant era, which is why I don't really care so much about trying to compare different eras, So in terms of like, has Jayden Daniels had the best rookie year ever? Like, it doesn't really matter to me. We're going to compare it to someone who played quarterback in 1997 and 2004 and 2012. It's like, whatever, man. It's just, it's not the most interesting conversation to me personally. I get why we have to have it at times, and I get why we have to have it in like the GOAT context and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's not as important to me. But in terms of like what would an upset win for Jayden, it would mean everything. Everything. Because no mountain would be too high, okay? I mean, like, it would just be like, you're talking about now beating what most people see. I mean, the Detroit Lions are, I think, the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I mean, you're talking about a juggernaut of a team that has just been beast mode game after game after game. And you're talking about Jayden Daniels on the road, back-to-back games, leading the Commanders to win would be massive, 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 massive. And it would be because Jayden Daniels had to have had a monster game. He would have had to have played like Josh Allen did against the Detroit Lions. It would have to be one of those games where you're like, oh my gosh, Jayden Daniels might be the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. Like, you would all be looking at each other where you're just like, what just arrived here? Who is this guy? I mean, listen, because even if they win and it's like a 14-7 game and it's like a really ugly, weird game, for some reason the pipes are leaking and it's raining and they're like, well, we still have to play, and it's like a weird, sloppy, wet game and like, it's just ugly, like, they would win and they would say like, that was a weird game, that was an ugly game, the Lions defense is just not good, and the defense stepped up for the Commanders. Like, I think like then like people would, the wins and losses guys who are really, favor that would probably try to use that as a way to pump up Jayden. But like, obviously that was a bizarre example, because I just think that like, there's no way that the Commanders win this game without heroics of Jayden Daniels. And I just think with that, with that being what needs to happen for him to be heroic rookie year on the road against the Detroit Lions playoffs, it's just, especially if it's another come from behind win, like another fourth quarter win, I really, really wholeheartedly believe, like, because, Greg is saying like, oh, going into the offseason, people will talk about like, he'll be an MVP candidate and stuff like that. And that's easy. That's an easy take. Like that's obvious. Like, of course. But you win this game, I guarantee you people will be like, can Jayden Daniels surpass Patrick Mahomes? Can Jayden Daniels surpass, Lamar Jackson, Josh, like, it'll really just be like, they'll compare, like, this is what, Patrick Mahomes did in his second year, third year, whatever. And that's what they'll start using as a reference point. And having Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and a really smart front office now in ownership, which is bizarre to say for the Washington Commanders, but it's there now. They're going to really do everything they can to build this team. It puts them in a great position to continue that momentum. There's definitely a few positions that they're going to need to get younger at, because they're kind of relying on some older guys that they got to like reset this clock here. They got to get back and find some of those 23, 24, 25, year olds and kind of, get that going, because they're definitely relying on some old heads here, which, each year that passes, the risk of injury just increases. But I just think everything's at stake. Legendary status is at stake. If we really want to kind of get like financial on it, like commercials and promotions and media, and he'll be everywhere. Like, I think he would literally be everywhere. I really, really do. And he just has the chance to do something pretty historic, pretty special. And I just think it would be Jayden Daniels hysteria, especially because you're talking about doing it in Washington, doing it with such a fan base that is desperate, truly desperate for a great thing going with football, and having such a massive market, as well as the fact that this team has done nothing for like 2 decades. I think their last playoff game was like 20 years ago. Their last playoff win, excuse me. And so you just erase all that. Just immediately becomes a thing of the past. You know, it becomes one of those things where like old heads are like, oh, you're so lucky that you have Jayden Daniels. Back when I was rooting for the Commanders, they couldn't even do blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, cool, whatever, man. I'm here for Jayden Daniels. It's 2025. Move on. I don't care what happened in 1990, whatever. Like, this time is now. So I just think everything's at stake, and it's more than just the conversations of Jayden Daniels. Well, I think Jayden Daniels has a great chance to be the MVP next year. Like, it's more than that. It's louder than that. It's bigger than that, and it's more legendary than that. And I just think it could be, you know, I think it would be next level personally, because especially considering who the Detroit Lions are right now in the football world, how well they're received, how high they're received, what their expectations are going up against the Detroit Lions, to me, you know, would be just be huge. Would just be huge. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. Please don't forget to check out the Houston Texans Kansas City Chiefs game live stream. Will be a lot of fun, and like I said, depending on how that goes, I might just roll right into the Commanders Lions game. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.